What's going on, everybody? It's Phantom Base coming at you with our first Gen 8 draft recap. I know this is going to seem weird. I haven't done draft league in a long time. However, I was contacted by my good buddy Heavy Metal Horse, and he asked if I wanted to join I wanted to take over a team that kind of shut itself off mid-draft. I was like, okay, cool, why not, right? And I hadn't, this is the only league I'm in, which is going to be good for me, but I still wanted to do some league content. So, that being said, what you're going to see is the fact that I had to work with, what is it? A team was auto-drafted for me after, or before I got it, but after they got dropped. And I was given a total of 7 swaps, which is pretty cool. That's a good chunk, considering it's a points draft, and I could have between 9 and 11 mons, and the team I got had 11. So me dropping things and not picking anything up for them didn't really count as a swap. It was super clean in my mind. So, or at least that's the way it turned out. I don't know how it worked out, but they gave me up to 7 swaps, and I ended up using them all already, which is kind of nice. So, we're going to go over the team that I originally had, and then we're going to go over the team that I picked up. So, without any further ado, let me pull up my Discord to see where I talked to the Heavy Metal Horse and find out what the team was before I got to it. Okay, here we go. Alright, so the original team I had was Celesteela Necrozma, Colossal, Mega Pinsir, Crobat, Cavalier, Thievul, Pessimian, Lilligant, Lopunny, and Electabuzz. I'm going to spoil this for you, there are only 3 of those mons remaining on this team. Because that's how crazy I went with changing of this team. Luckily, I got the points to work out to where I have a pretty solid team now. So we're going to go over the mons that we're going to go in order of the quote-unquote draft, and we'll go from there. So, without any further ado, let's get started. With our first pick was apparently Celesteela. So, as y'all are aware, so let me explain the points draft a little. We had 110 points for 9 to 11 mons, 1 Z Captain, and we could have a Mega if we wanted to. This is a Gen 8 National Dex thing, essentially. That allows Z moves and Megas, so pretty much it's Gen 7 with Gen 8 mons added. And we allowed the old moves like Hidden Power and Pursuit, Return, all that jazz. So those things are available for us to use as well. Now, back to it. Selly, the first mon. Y'all know my track record with Selly. I love this thing. This thing is a demon. Still one of the best mons in the format by far. And with the nerfed terrain, this thing is a little bit more threatening. Because of the fact that the boosts from terrain are only 1.3 instead of 1.5 now, which is super clean. I love the fact that we can now 100% switch into things that are boosting psychic terrain, and not have to worry about like a spec psychic actually doing a good chunk to us. Tapu Koko's still a problem, obviously. We do have checks to Tapu Koko. Checks. There are very few counters to Tapu Koko, but anyway, yeah, so this is Selly. These are the best defensive mon in the format. Or one of the best. I still think my favorite one is one that's been taken, sadly. And y'all know which one I'm thinking. So, anyway, this thing gets some really good options. We obviously don't know any moves that it gets updated with Gen 8, because it's not coded into the game yet. But I mean, this thing has good enough coverage as it is. It's a good spec. It's good all around to everything it can do except being fast. And even then you click auto-automize and all of a sudden it's fast. So there you go. Now the next mon that we decided, another one we decided to keep was our Atlasina Necrozma. This thing, it is coded into the games. And so we know some of its new moves. Things like freaking Dragon Dance. Yeah, let that sink in for a minute. It gets Dragon Dance, it gets freaking like some crazy crap. This thing is so good. DD plus Photon guys are going to be disgusting. You get Psychic Fangs if you want to be that guy and bring a screens breaking set, but really, the thing that makes this thing crazy is that he gets Cosmic Power now. So you can run a Cosmic Power Calm Mindset with Store Power, and like, oh my gosh, this is so ugly. This thing is so good. And then it gets for a cycle, it gets some other crazy moves, like if you wanted to go with like a Super Berry set or something like that, or like a Citrus Berry set or something like that. It's so good. And this thing is one of our many rockers on this team. Thank goodness. Because the theme of this team is not exactly what you call Volturn, because I didn't have much of an option. I had to go with the best things I could get for the value, and really we only have one way to get initiative on this team, which is really sad, but I don't really need to because my team is not weak to Pursuit. So in that regard, I'm not too worried about hard switching. Now, I will say Trappers might be an issue, but really, most of the Trappers that are in this, actually, I think all the Trappers that are in this particular format are set up on pretty easily by my mods. Dougie, Walled Forever Today by Celesteela, can be set up on by Necrosmic can set up on Celly pretty easily. Necrosmic is easily set up on like if given the opportunity, you can set up on something like what you want to call it, freaking Gothitelle and Wobbuffet. Our next Pokemon is one of our many swaps, one of our 7 swaps, and you're going to love this pick because it was still around somehow. I originally dropped Mega Pinsir to grab Garchomp, and this is our Z Captain. We only get one Z Captain, so this is our Z Captain. Kirito, I named him Kirito this time around because I didn't have another mon to name it that. I can't remember what I used to call my other mons. I'm actually, okay, we're back. Sorry, I had to do some research real quick and remember a nickname. Anyway, so yeah. Garchomp, y'all know what it does. This boy gonna be good. Now, we don't know the moveset it's gonna get when it comes from the expansion pack. Yeah, which is kind of sad because I'm really hoping to use Dragon Dance, but we can't use that obviously until the next season of this or until the league comes where the expansion pack is a thing. But until then, we can definitely use this thing to our advantage to be super stinking good. Crazy moves, like all it needs is Swords Dance, and then you just click a Z move, and this thing just goes to town. This thing has pretty passable special attack too if you wanted to run a special move like Fire Blast and cover up Wild Weakness or something out there. But really this thing is meant to just destroy lives with its physical attacks. Like SD, EQ, and Stone Edge are literally all you need. This thing forces so many switches. Running rocks on this is really easy. Now, like I said, I'm going to spoil it, I have 4 rockers on this team, so we're not short of rockers. Not worried about setting up rocks at all. So really, this is where it can come down to just my preference for the week. But yeah, Chomp, super solid. Love this thing. Y'all have seen me use it in the past. This thing is a crazy good mod. And I'm looking forward to use it again, because really, in the Gen 8 meta, dragons are just crazy good. Like, Dragapult is one of the greatest mons out there. Now, our next Pokemon is, because y'all saw we dropped Mega Pinsir for Garchomp. Gonna check and see, make sure. Okay, so our next one on the list to get rid of was Colossal, and we decided we're gonna get rid of Colossal for Mega Aerodactyl because I wanted speed on this team. This team needed some major speed. Like, I think the fastest mons on here were like Crobat originally, and yes, that's a good speed tier. But for a mon that can't really offer any offensive presence aside from a potential bandit set, I felt that this mon was going to be better on the team. And because Crobat's not a grounded poison, so having some removal that could actually be decent removal. Yes, I will spoil again and say this is my only removal, but after this my team is not weak to hazards. And like after this particular switch up of things, my team is not weak to hazards. Originally, I had 2 removers in Crobat and Colossal, but Colossal's not a very good spinner, and Crobat is going to be the only one I'd be running to Fog on. and I feel like it'd be forced a lot to put it into a fatter role. Whereas with Aerodactyl, I can play a more offensive game with my team as a whole, or just prevent hazards altogether. And having a Mon, spoilers, is coming up into the grounded poison helps me not have to worry about things like toxic spikes, which my Necrozma and my Garchomp and a few of my other Mons will not appreciate. So, that being said, having a toxic spikes absorber and this particular Mon's potential to Defogger as well makes life a little easier. But with this not even caring about Defog, this thing with Tough Claws, and you're running things like you can obviously run things like Aerial Ace, which is like decent. You get Elemental Fangs, you get Aqua Tail, Taunt Toxic or Taunt Roost. This gets rocks of his own, so another rocker. This thing gets Pursuit, which I can use, and the best part is he gets Home Claws to boost that accuracy of Stone Edge, so I actually can land him. So yeah, and then it gets EQ. So literally, this thing is the definition of Edge Quake on a team with a coverage move. I can run an Elemental Fang if I want to. I can run. Oh, hello. Yeah, this thing is like super good, and its speed tier is phenomenal, and I don't have to worry. This thing with its coverage doesn't really force me to worry about too much. The only thing that I think it really struggles with is a solid steel type, and luckily I have things like Celesteela and Garchomp to handle those, as well as a couple other Mons that can have some niche roles later in the game. Now next up is another Mon. Like I said, we needed a grounded poison. Because I'm yawning, y'all will never know this, huh? But no, we needed a grounded poison to make sure that we don't lose the toxic spikes in the event the Aerodactyl has to go down. Because honestly, the way this team is built or drafted, Aerodactyl a lot of times is not going to be surviving the entire match. Or if it is, it's because I built a bulky set with Roost that allows me to do that. This particular Pokemon allows me to not have to worry about toxic spikes, and also gives me an offensive pressure on things that I absorb toxic spikes from. And that is Roserade. And I'll tell you what, y'all might think this thing is like meh, but like its speed tier is really good. So first off, let's check out my speed tiers. Got 61, 79, 102, 150, 90. This thing falls in perfectly right in there in the middle. Love it. We only have one slightly crammed speed tier, actually two technically, but like this thing prevents base 80s from being a problem and base 95s from running Adamant or Modest. Like anything in the base 90 to 100 speed tier no longer can run Adamant or Modest versus me. Because until then, we run with Garchomp all the way down to Necrozma, and then in the original draft it was I think, well, Lilligant's base 90 as well, if I recall correctly, but like, that thing is not really a threat like Roserade is. Roserade, because we were allowed to use Hidden Power, Technician is once again back at the top of the power list, with running the ability to run things like Hidden Power. If I want to run something like, honestly, I could be really cheeky and run something stupid like, like this thing gets Sword Stance for one thing. I can run SD Bullet Seed, I can run SD Pin Missile, and this thing could actually be silly enough to do some work. But no, this thing with the correct coverage could be really destructive. Why does this thing get Fury Cutter? That's ridiculous. Anyway, we're gonna ignore that for a minute and go with the fact that this thing has just the right stuff to make itself dangerous. I could be really cheeky and run something like Weather Ball, but like that would really only be in the case I'm running a Weather or facing a Weather. But even then, I think I would be running a Hidden Power first because that's boosted by Technician, and then on top of that, if it's like it's ridiculous. I love this thing. It gives me toxic spikes and toxic spikes, which are two of the main things that I really wanted on this team. Because between Aerodactyl and Garchomp forcing switches and Necrozma forcing defensive check, or Garchomp and Aerodactyl force defensive checks, Necrozma and Selly force offensive checks, and anything in those ranges really don't like being poisoned unless they're like steel or poison types, in which case, or steel types, in which case I don't care that I got kicked offline, thanks. Poison or steel types that would really nothing is. The Cosmos doesn't care about poison or steel types. Garchomp doesn't care about poison or steel types. Selly doesn't care about poison or steel types. And really, those are the only things that don't care about poison. That everything else gets Toxic Spike. And the fat steel types that Arrow struggles with, that Selly can kind of struggle with, and the Necrozma can kind of struggle with, because worn down by spikes, which is really clutch. The only mon I would potentially worry about is something like Skarmory, but even then, that's not a huge issue because of the mons that I have running. Also, this thing can run Leech Seed of its own, so we have 2 Leech Seeders, really clutch, and this thing gets Aromatherapy, which can be super nice. Nice Cleric to go along with my next mon, which I can't with this yawning. I'm going crazy. The next mon is something this team lacked in the original draft. Which was a fairy. So we ended up we ended up dropping Crobat for this Roserade. And then the next mon we ended up dropping was we dropped Passimian because we needed Aromatisse. And we would never run Hilo on it. We were always running freaking Aromavale. Because this thing gets some good stuff. 1, its bulk is good. Its bulk is great. And its speed allows me to not be destroyed by Trick Room on a lot of teams. Granted, there's a couple of teams here and there that have a Trick Room set where their Steel type is just destructive. I won't mention any names, but that's because they're my weak point opponent. But really, they know if they're. I'm sure they know the Melmetal is a destructive team mon, and we'll go over a team builder later. I'm gonna record that next. Anyway, but yeah, so y'all, this thing is severely underrated. The fact that 1, it cannot be taunted, encored, disabled, heal blocked, tormented, or attracted. Let that sink in for a minute. This thing literally cannot be mentally affected in any way. It's essentially got a built-in permanent mental herb. And you can't stop this thing from setting up wishes, going for aromatherapy, going for disable of its own, Calm Mind, Nasty Plot. This thing can Trick Room on its own, quick Nasty Plot, and then start destroying things. The only thing I'm sad about is like this is the one fairy in Gen 8 they did not give freaking Mystical Fire. Of all things, this is the one mon that didn't get Mystical Fire. I'm really sad about that. You know, it gets things like Energy Ball, Flash Cannon, Psyshock, Thunderbolt, and then it gets Hidden Power. You can run Hidden Power Fire if you want. This thing is going to be really good as a Cleric. This thing could potentially be a win condition late game if I'm running a Trick Room set. Y'all come expecting some crazy stuff. Okay, next mon is a mon that this team also desperately needed because it didn't have a Dark type and it didn't have a Ghost type. Yes, I combined the 2 into 1. Sadly, Sableye was taken, or I'd have taken that. But instead, we got the next best thing, which is a far bulkier version of this. Even though it doesn't get reliable recovery, it does get Pain Split. We're looking at Spiritomb. This boy can do some damage. Pressure. First off, Crotomb is destructive. Okay, Crotomb could be really, really scary because I could either run Pressure with it and be Crotomb, or I can be like a setup one with Infiltrator so that things can't just sub up on me and I can cause some problems. I can run a Willow Hex. I think it gets Hex. Does it get Hex? Oh, don't tell me it doesn't get Hex. Oh, come on. Why is this the one Ghost that doesn't get Hex? That sucks. Oh well. In which case, either way, but this thing gets Nasty Plot. This thing gets Disabled. This thing gets Pursuit. This thing gets some nice setup options with in particular Nasty Plot and Calm Mind. I could run a Rest set as well. Run like Rest Talk, Calm Mind, and then Dark Pulse. And really, that's honestly or Rest Talk, Calm Mind, Shadow Ball. So once I can get rid of the normal type, which eventually one of the normal type will drop due to my resists to it, and the fact that I've got 2 Leech Seeders and ways to set up on the normal types, which are usually bulky. I can run that. Like, this thing is just so crazy good. It's underrated as heck. Oh, of course, I'll be running this shiny every week because I love shiny Spiritomb a lot more than the regular. Anyway, so this thing is crazy. Y'all notice I have very few shinies on the team this time around. But anyway, yeah, Spiritomb is really good as a pursuit trapper because it's a slow pursuit trapper. So it's not like you're just sitting here going, okay, we're gonna outspeed this thing normally. So this thing is a pivot switch most of the time. But the good thing about it is because it's a pivot switch, a lot of times things can't touch it, or if they can, they can't do much damage to it. So they they essentially become a pivot. Or they're forcing them to switch, which in turn allows me to run pivot or pursuit. Or I can run Sucker Punch, I can run Shadow Sneak, I can run Will-O-Wisp, Taunt, Rest Talk, I can run Calm Mind, I can run Nasty Plot, I can run a lot of things on this thing. This thing doesn't have a whole lot of versatile coverage. The things that it also gets Memento, which is disgusting. It gets Trick, it gets Toxic, it gets Curse. I think it gets Mean Look too, which could be fun. Does it get Mean Look? It gets Infestation, which is good enough. Mean Look with Curse, or Infestation Curse, oof. Things will die in like 3 turns. Especially if they're taking rocks damage, you Infestation them, then you Curse, then you Protect, and then you Rest, and then things die. So yeah. This thing's fat. This thing is very fat. So, I mean, look at those defenses. 108 in both defenses, and 50 in HP is not anything to write home about, but, I mean, you know, look what we got. And combined with the bulk from this thing, and with another mon that we have in the back. So, like, the Selly is going to be good for essentially Fizz Def. This thing can be good for Fizz Def or Def. This thing will be good on either side. This thing could be good on either side, really. Chomp can be bulky, Arrow could be bulky. Our next mon is an offensive mon that's slow as crap, but it's a type that I needed really badly, and that's Water. Now, I could have picked up my Lodix somewhere along the line, but I would have had to sacrifice another pick. Maybe 2. And at the end of this, I will go and say I ended up with 10 mons instead of 11. That's because I needed my points to actually fit a decent team. And I didn't want to have to sacrifice having a good, well-rounded team for having a really good, solid water type that was only going to do one thing. Whereas this next mon can do multiple things. And that's Lapras. Now, before you all sit there and giggle about the fact that I drafted Lapras, let me clue you in real quick. This boy gets Dragon Dance for one thing. Next, they finally gave it Body Press. Or they gave it Body Press, which is disgusting to help us shut down Steel types. It gets Freeze Dry, which shuts down water types that normally wouldn't want to deal with it. It gets Life Dew, which actually gives it some semi-reliable recovery, which is really cool. It gets a lot of physical moves, which is really good to pair with Dragon Dance. Because if you look, its physical attack is as good as its special attack. So have fun with that, bruh. And so we can run Dragon Dance, or we can run a Spec set. We can run a bulky set with like Life Dew or Rest Talk, and then like Rest Talk, Toxic, and then a 4th move like Scald, or it does get Scald, right? Wait a minute, this thing doesn't get Scald? What? This is the one water type that doesn't get Scald, but it's okay, I don't really need it. Because really probably be running something more like Ice Beam, or like Rest Talk Surf. And this thing gets some cheeky text like Roar, it gets Heal Bell now, which is kind of crazy. It gets Perish Song, which, you know, could be a cheeky Whirlpool Trap set somewhere down the line. But it also gets, funny fact, it gets Block. But I don't think it gets Block in Perish Song, now that I think about it. It gets Curse, which could be fun for Body Press. It gets 3 of the 4 Oko moves, which I don't think I can use anyway. But having Sheer Cold, Horn Drill, and Fissure would be hilarious. It's Natural Gift, which I could use, I guess. It gets Sparkling Aria, by the way, which is kind of crazy. It gets, but yeah, just this thing in particular. I think you're going to see a lot on this is that I'll either run it incredibly offensive, or I'll run it as setup set, or I'll run it as like stupid bulky. But you're not going to see anything more like you're not going to see any kind of support set like Heal Bell or anything like that, I don't think. Unless I just really can't find a way to run Aromatherapy on Aromatisse or Aromatherapy on Roserade for some reason. But this thing is going to be more of a... This thing can cause a lot of problems for people who don't have correct speed tiers. Because the slow threat, or the slow things that try to deal with this thing, are not fast enough. And the things that outspeed this thing can't kill it in one shot, unless it's like a super strong fighting type, or super strong rock type. But even the super strong rock types have to worry about me potentially running like a scarf set with like surf, or God forbid I run like a physical set from Dragon Dance, and all of a sudden I'm faster than you, and it's a problem. But yeah, this thing could be really good. It gives me a hail immunity, which is super nice. I can run shell armor, which could prevent me from getting crit, which would be really nice. This thing also can wall a lot of passive stuff. Not even wall it, just be annoying for it. This thing could actually wall it if I run like a lefty set with heal bell, and it just starts spamming moves like surf or ice beam or whatever. I can run a heal bell with like heal bell 3 attacks with like surf, ice beam, and like coverage moves like thunderbolt or ice or psychic or freaking dragon pulse, whatever you want to call it. This thing could do, or signal beam. This thing could be really, really good. I wouldn't run signal beam. Yeah, it could be cheeky or hyper voice, but no, I'd probably run freeze dry. Freeze dry helps me shut down grass types, or not grass types, water types. Anyway, enough about Lapras. Y'all know what it does, or if you don't know what it does, you'll find out. Next Pokemon, I needed a dedicated Defmon, but something that could still be decently offensive. This next mon gives me my final rocker. It's the last mon I actually ended up switching out. Because by the way, if I didn't mention, I dropped Thievul for Lapras, and ended up dropping Scavalier and Lilligant for Spiritomb. And then I've got one more swap, and this is where I said I still need a normal type because I need a ghost immunity, but I also want something I can turn around and still do damage to the ghosts, do damage to a lot of other things, have some good priority, another rocker, and honestly, but this will give it away once y'all see it. This gets stab on everything. Kecleon! Funny enough, Protean Grin is actually in this league, so having this mon in particular actually gives me a decent check to it, because the Spadef Protean set myself also allows me to help kind of wall Grin in a way, because this thing gets reliable recovery. It actually gets recover, which is great. It can get it gets a type, almost a move for every single type except for Fairy, I think, which is kind of good because honestly, Protean into Fairy would be broken. But every other type just about this thing gets, I think. I'm gonna check and see if it doesn't get him. Or again, run hidden powers, so obviously it does, but like, yeah, this thing doesn't get any Fairy moves. Sad day. That's okay. Well, this thing gets Reflect type too, so it could potentially become a Fairy type. That's crazy. But yeah, this thing is really, really solid. That Spadef stat is disgustingly unexpected for a mon like this. An attack stat boosted with Protean, it's actually really stupid solid. With the coverage it gets all the elemental punches, it gets Fake Out, it gets Strain Punch, it gets Foul Play, it gets Knockoff. This thing is Knockoff. And this thing is Nasty Plot. What? Oh my gosh, this thing is Nasty Plot too, so I could run the special set with like Ice Beam, Flamethrower, Thunderbolt. I could run Return on this thing as well if I wanted to go for a full physical move. That gets like some stupid coverage. It gets Rock Slide, it gets Shadow Ball, Shadow Sneak, which is super clutch. Sucker Punch, like I said. It's Trick Room to let itself set up its own speed control essentially. If you notice, I kind of got a Trick Room core down here as well, which is kind of gross. But yeah, and this thing, like I said, just gets so much good coverage. I think, like I said, I think it literally gets something for every typing. Some only exceptions might be Poison, and I think it might get Poison Jab. No, it doesn't. It doesn't get Poison Jab. It gets Toxic though, and that can turn this into a Poison type, which is kind of gross. Yeah, this thing is really solid for such a low tier pick. I think this thing was actually 2 points, which I find ridiculous because this is the last amount I dropped, and I dropped Low Plenty for this. So this thing does infinitely better than Low Plenty in my opinion. It gives me, like I said, another rocker, so it can resist some other stuff. It gets Shadow Sneak, which allows it to be immune to its normal weaknesses, and then it can turn around and go for a Psychic move. Or I can click Sucker Punch to make myself a Dark type, to make myself immune to Dark type and Ghost types when I've clicked Shadow Sneak. This thing just really puts in the work, and You'll see how well it can work later. Last mon is a mon I kept on the team, and that's Electabuzz. The only reason it is because having a fast electric type with access to Volt Switch, and it can, and look at this base speed 105 is really good. I don't have anything between it and Aerodactyl, sadly, but I kind of don't need it, because anything that's going to be in between Electabuzz and Aerodactyl is going to be outsped by Adam and Aerodactyl most of the time. And the things that aren't are still outsped by Aerodactyl. And I can always run a Scarfer to kind of punish those. Or autotomize Necrozma or autotomize Celesteela, also deal with them. But this thing gets some pretty good coverage. Things like Frost Chop. It doesn't get Earthquake like its counterpart in Electivire, but it gets Ice Punch. It gets the Elemental Punches, which is great. It does still get Wild Charge, I believe. But the thing that you have to worry about is this thing is actually a special attacker, unlike its counterpart. Base 95 special attack, and good to Spadef with an Eviolite access, which is really nice. It doesn't get any recovery unless I'm running Rest, but that's really okay, because the moves that it needs to get the perfect coverage essentially is Thunderbolt, Signal Beam, and Empower Ice. And if I want to run like Focus Blast or something, I can. It doesn't get Flamethrower. Once again, it doesn't get Flamethrower like its counterpart in Electivire, but that's okay. It does get Teleport, so that I don't have to worry about running Volt Switch every week. So I can teleport out with this thing. Does anything else get Teleport? I don't think it does, not on this team. The Gym 1 boost is stupid good. That would be crazy if anything got Teleport. You know, Teleport is a really solid move because it gives you initiative. It's -6 initiative, but it's initiative. So like if you force a switch, you can teleport out with this thing. This thing does get Psychic, by the way, so it's actually kind of solid, checking some of the things. But no, this thing is, overall, this thing is nothing to write home about. But like the speed tier and the fact that I can run it special or physical if I want to, but really special gives me some valuable options for Volt Switch or teleport out into things like Kecleon, or I would probably teleport out into something like Obelisk that would really set up on a ground type. Roserade, or Lapras, or Garchomp, Arrow, any of those things can really capitalize on a teleport / Volt Switch out from this thing. So yeah, and like I said, having solid Wish Pass in Aromatisse as well as double Leech Seed really helps support the fact that I don't have a whole lot of hazard removal. By a whole lot I mean my only removal is this, but I can taunt things with this, or this, or does this thing get taunt? No, Electivire does. No, it doesn't. It's really stupid. But yeah, anything get Baton Pass? Do you get Baton Pass? No, you don't. You don't. You're not in the game. You don't. You don't. Nope. Nope. Okay, well I tried. But yeah, so that's really all for that. But yeah, that's the team, y'all. Like I said, I made our Z captain to Garchomp because Garchomp's one of the best C users in the game, even with Gen 8 coming around. Don't even disagree. Yeah, don't even bother disagreeing with me. Y'all know Garchomp's one of the best, hands down. Anyway, so that's all for this. I'm actually gonna go and record my team builder for week 1. So I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys for week 1 for the week 1 team builder. Bye bye.